Hey everybody, Aaron Blaise here, and welcome to another episode of Aaron's Art Tips, number 18. So today we're in Sarasota, Florida at the Big Cat Habitat. It's a wonderful place that takes in rescued animals, big cats, bears, they've got tigers, they've got all kinds of stuff, elephants, and they've got a wonderful circus, and they take really great care of these animals, and it's a great place to draw. So today I thought I'd take everybody out and talk to you about how I do my drawing on location of animals and that sort of thing, and kind of my approach to the whole thing. So I'm going to turn my chair around and we're going to start drawing. So one of the first things I like to do when I come out to sketch animals is just sit and look. Just sit and observe, really look at the animals' contours, their gestures, the flow of the muscle, that sort of thing, just to get a sense of the animal. Next thing I like to do is when I want to start drawing, I like to work on a hot pressed watercolor paper because it takes watercolor very well, and I like to work in watercolor and ballpoint pen. So first thing I do is I use my artist tape, and I'll tape down the edges of my paper so that I'll get a nice clean edge, and then I can start drawing. I like to start very gestural, very broad, because as you know, elephants, animals in general, they're going to move. They're not going to stand one pose for you. So it's very important to get the pose down quickly, and then from there, if they move, you can go in and just observe and start getting little anatomical details here and there. Especially with drawing elephants, I'm very conscious of their textures, a lot of the contours of their anatomy. I try to capture that in my pen drawing, just to give the line drawing some form. And obviously elephants have a lot of texture. And the great thing about texture, wrinkles and that sort of thing, is you can follow the contours of the body. It shows the form of the body. You can see what I'm doing in the neck here, and it shows the roundness of that neck. So when I start out in watercolor, I like to work from light to dark, and one of the things I like to do first is start with my cools. And I know it may look weird, but I get in here and I start painting blue in my shadows, especially in the white fur. You'll catch a lot of cool colors that'll reflect the sky, and so I put a lot of blue in there. It looks a little weird at first, but then as I build up my colors, build up the layers, which you do in watercolor. You do it in a series of glazes and that sort of thing. I'll build up warm colors over some of those cool colors. I'll let some of the cools come through, and eventually you end up with a very, color-wise, a very balanced looking image. So one of the drawbacks of painting here in Florida watercolor is humidity. Humidity is a real tough thing in watercolor because your paper just doesn't want to dry. I'll probably end up with something a little looser than what I would normally do, just because I'm impatient and I don't want to wait for the paper to dry. But it is something you got to deal with, but sometimes you end up with some good effects. But like right now, I'm definitely dealing with working wet into wet, which is something I don't always want to do. You'll often see me lay down. I'll take my brush and I'll lay down some color, like so, and it can be sometimes very heavy. But then I'll rinse it, and you'll see me squeeze that water right out of my brush, and then I come back in and watch this. See, it soaks it right up, and I can get control of it, and that's just knowing the medium, and I can move it around and get it to work a little better for me. And here's where I'll go in and I'll get some details. Once I start getting all the color in, I often like to throw in a background color, not necessarily the color that's there, but I like to throw in a background color just to get the painting to pop a little bit. Just want to push this a little darker because the fur is darker here. I don't need to finish it out. I'm just going to let it go. This is just a little study, so I don't worry about it too much. So one of the last things I like to do, especially when I'm doing cats and they have all this fur, I like to go in with, so I can get whiskers and fine little hairs and get a little bit of hair texture. I've got these white ballpoint pens that I go in and just hit some final little details with. Okay, so I'm finishing up a few of these sketches that I've done today. I'm probably going to do a few more after we're done wrapping. But I just wanted to give you guys a little sense of what it is that I do when I come out and draw animals. So when you go out and you want to do some sketching at the zoo or the circus or wherever it may be, the park, sit down and just observe the animal first. Just sit there and kind of soak it in. Really look at their anatomy, look at their rhythms, look at how each part flows into the other. And then when you sit down and start to draw, do it very quickly. Don't worry about getting in there and noodling, because that animal is going to move. Once you've sketched it in quickly, then you can go back in and you can hit your details. Bring your ballpoint pen, bring your watercolors, and have some fun. Remember, it's not about doing a great painting. It's about observing and building up that visual library. All right, so go out, paint, have some fun, and I'll talk to you next time. Thanks.